Learning how to be happy alone is a skill that will completely change your life. I mean, completely change mine. You know, I used to be deathly afraid of periods of alone time where I would always try and run back to where my friends and family were, or desperately try and make friends with literally anyone off the street just so I wasn't alone, because it used to make me feel so sad because you don't have that group of people around you to support you. But now, in a weird way, I almost look forward to these periods because I've realised periods like that are where you grow. You gain so much self development, you gain so much self love, and you gain such a deeper understanding of yourself and who you are because there's no one around you to distract you. And in this video, I want to share the three sort of realizations that helped me gain this mindset towards periods of being alone. Now, firstly, I don't want to waste your time, so if you take anything away from this video, let it be this first tip, because this is the most important one. And it is simply realizing that this will not last. No matter how long you've been alone for, or how long you are going to be alone for, you will not be alone for the rest of your life. And I think this is such a nice and lovely realization to have, because I think the scariest part of when you're in a period of your life when you're alone, like when you've moved away or simply your friends and family have drifted away from you, is that it feels like it will last forever. But realizing that it will not is the first step to really enjoying these periods and really focusing on growth. Because realize this: simply living your life in the way you want to will draw people towards you. You will draw people who are in a similar aspect of life to you. You will draw people who have similar interests to you. Just, you have to meet them, and it takes time, but you will meet them at some point, and you will get to know them. And then there you go, you're no longer alone. This really helped me focus on growth during these periods because I didn't lament that I was alone or fall into a depression. I just got on with myself. I got on with my personal growth and my self-development because I knew with absolute certainty that it would not last. And this just removes that uncertainty and worry from that period, because if you know you're going to meet someone, well, you can do whatever the hell you want. And this really allows you to get to the starting line of starting to enjoy these periods, because simply you just don't worry about anything. You don't worry about meeting people because you have faith that when the time comes, you will meet people. They're just not around you at the moment. And that is completely fine. Similarly, to focus on more personal development, you can also make the realization that personal growth will make it more likely that you meet people. If you become a better, happier person, you're going to make more friends. You'll get closer to your family. And this is such a simple but powerful realization that is the absolute basis for the other two tips that come in this video. Now, the second realization that I made that really helped me enjoy these periods was realizing the value these periods provide. Now, I've already talked about, the self-development value that it provides. I just want to go into a little bit more detail, and then I want to talk about the experimental value that it provides, which, I'll get into that. It sounds a bit weird, but I'll explain it. So, when I'm talking about growing personally and self-development during these periods, all I'm really referring to is things like asking questions to yourself, like, why do you feel lonely? What are your friends to you? Which of your friends do you actually like? And anything like that, that it doesn't have to be social, it could be literally anything, but that just helps you get to know yourself on a much deeper and personal level. Now, I find it harder to do these things when I have lots of social commitments and other things, just because I don't really give my mind the time to think about this sort of stuff. So to help with this, I use journaling, but that is by no means a requisite to actually develop yourself. I would say the bare minimum that you can do is really just have a think about it. Just think about yourself. Think about what really makes you happy. And just getting to know yourself provides so much value in your life, and it's almost during these periods you have nothing and no one to do anything for, so you can almost speed run personal growth just because you got nothing else to do. You get home from work, you got no one to meet, so you may as well get to know yourself on a much more personal level, and then that will actually help you meet friends, because If you know who you are and you know what values and what other people mean to you, that means it's so much easier to then meet people and you meet someone and think, well, they have a similar value to me. I'm going to be best friends with them. And then there you go. Now, when I say like experimentally grow, all I mean is that, as I've said, you have nothing and no one to really do things for during these periods. So you will find yourself having a lot of free time. Experiment. You can, during these periods, you can really find out what genuinely makes you happy. You can experiment with different sports, different hobbies, different foods, different jobs, different anything. The world is literally your oyster during these periods because you have nothing and no one. You don't have to pretend to like ice skating because your mates go. You don't have to pretend to like something else because your sister wants to do it. You can just do what genuinely makes you happy. And if you don't know what makes you happy, you can find out what makes you happy. And those two things made me enjoy these periods so much more because I've realized that, one, I can grow myself and I can become a better, happier person who knows themselves on a much deeper level. And two, I can get to know myself in the way I know what makes me happy now. I know what hobbies I like. I know what food I like. I know what I enjoy doing. And that's just so valuable. And that's things, if you filled your life with other social aspects where you're doing things for other people, you would not find out those things about yourself. So doing those things will really help you see just the value in these periods of alone time. Now, lastly, this one is less of a realization and more of just a tip that I found, because even with the first two, periods of alone time are very hard. Even if you see the value in them, even if you know it's going to end at some point, they can still be really hard to get through. And I completely understand that. I've experienced it myself. Because it's just, you want someone there. And if you don't, that's not a very nice place to be in. So the last tip is something I use just to stay happy during these times. And it's really weird. It seems almost schizophrenic, but just bear with me here. So, imagine you met an exact clone of yourself. On the street, you met an exact clone of yourself. Same upbringing, same hobbies, same everything. You would become best friends. Of course you would become best friends. You have the same hobbies, you have the same experiences. They'd be so fucking relatable. They'd be incredible. You'd be so happy with yourself. Now, that's never going to happen. But what I like to pretend is almost like I have an exact clone of myself there. And this just sort of means have fun with yourself. Imagine there is an exact clone of yourself there. And yeah, that does sound really schizophrenic and really weird, but genuinely it works. Just imagining there's an exact clone of yourself who likes all the things, who likes all the jokes that you make, who likes all the random crap that you see and say, who would get the weird things that you say. Say them. When you're walking on the street and you see something stupid and funny, say it to yourself in your head like you're talking to an exact clone of yourself who would find that hilarious and then just laugh at it. And this really weird technique just makes these periods so much more enjoyable because, in a weird way, they just feel less lonely. Even though there is no person there, there is no exact clone of yourself, but in just talking to yourself like there is someone else there, it almost, for me, it just tricks my mind into just being less lonely. And it just really helps me stay optimistic and happy during these periods. It really emphasizes the point that being alone does not equal being lonely. You can be alone, but you don't necessarily have to feel lonely. And this tip might sound weird, might sound schizophrenic, but try it out. The results will speak for themselves. And lastly, I just want to go over one big pitfall that I find really makes me very sad during these periods, and that is simply social media. Because when you go on social media, and let's say you're in a period, you've moved to a different city and you don't really have any family or friends there. You go on social media and you see all these people who you may or may not actually know having an incredible time. Of course, you're going to feel so much worse about yourself because you don't have those people around you. So what I found helps during these periods is simply reducing or just stopping my intake of social media. Because comparing my life to other people's, when my life perhaps isn't where I want it to be in terms of being social, does no good for you. Does no good for you at all. Because you will be comparing different aspects of your life where sort of you're here and they're there. You're at different points in your life. The people you see on social media, they've also gone through times of solitude. They will go through times of solitude where they feel much sadder because they don't have those people around them. So just stepping back and not focusing on what other people have and not comparing yourself to other people and just focusing on yourself, your personal growth, and what makes you happy will make these times so much better. Now, if you need help with anything like reducing your social media intake, I do actually go into a lot more detail on that. I have a video on my channel about getting your attention span back, so if you need anything more on that, I would highly recommend that. But otherwise, I really hope this video has helped people. I really hope these tips are useful. Try them out, come back to the comments, let me know how they work.